yourselves. So when you guys are ready, go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, girls. My name is Emily Perry, and I work for the city and county in the Division of Urban Forestry as a community forester. And so I started this position officially in April. And before that, I was community forestry AmeriCorps Vista, which is actually what my other co-host, Maddie, is in that position right now. So Maddie, if you want to introduce yourself as well.
Hi, everyone. So my name's Maddie, and I'm in the position that Emily was in before the job she's in now. So it's with the Office of Climate Change, Sustainability, and Resiliency, kind of a long office name, but that's another city office, and I am a community forestry specialist as well. So I came here about 5 months ago, and before that I was in Michigan. I'm from the state of Michigan, and I was also working in forestry and forest conservation there. So I'm excited to tell you a little bit about both of those things.
All right, welcome. So we'll just start off with any questions, Girl Scouts, you might have. You can type it in the chat, or if you want to unmute, you can go ahead and ask Emily and Maddie whatever questions you want to find out about them, their careers, what they're doing.
Can we ask them questions too? Okay, yeah. I was wondering, like, maybe you can, I don't know, unmute or chat box too, what the age range of some of you are, and like determining, I don't know, if you're thinking about, you know, for high school, what you'll be like trying to focus in more, and what you like. Yeah, I guess.
So girls, you can either unmute or you can type in the chat. So just let us know what level you're in. Are you Daisy, Brownie, Junior, Cadette, Senior, Ambassador?
I'm a Brownie.
Brownie, okay. So we have one Brownie. Anybody else? Oh, Amber Lee, Cadette, okay. And Dorothy, Cadette.
So Cadette is Cadette right after Brownie, or no?
Yes. So
yes.
Brownie is our 2nd and 3rd graders, and then our Cadettes is 6th, 7th, 8th grade.
Got it.
I was a Brownie, and then unfortunately I ended up stopping for whatever reason, but I really enjoyed being a Brownie. It was fun, and I didn't get to do quite as much, you know, being in forestry now and loving the outdoors so much. I didn't do as much of that when I was a scout. I was in more of an urban area, but yeah, some of the camping and stuff, I'm not sure if you all have gotten to do any of that, but it's nice to get out amongst the trees.
Yeah, so I guess that can kind of be a good segue into talking about some of the work that we do, which is looking at urban and community forestry, not only, trying to make it more accessible to people instead of being these like one time, you know, when you go camping or whatever, just like once a weekend, you know, not so often. We kind of want to bring the spotlight over to our urban trees too. So whether that's the street trees that are outside your house or the trees that are in your park, we really appreciate those ones as well. And Maddie's background actually is a poinciana that's in Queen Kapiolani Garden, which is in Waikiki. So we went there a couple months ago to look at the tree and make it an exceptional tree. which is a special kind of tree that's protected by the city. And so we're taking a look at it because it's so big and has these like beautiful gold flowers. So we wanted to give some recognition to that tree.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things I've enjoyed most about this position, this job focusing on urban trees. I like that because they're the trees that are closest to people, right? So it's a good opportunity, like working really closely with Emily, to try and just get people to take notice of and appreciate and value and kind of stand up for the trees that are in, in their homes, at their friends' homes, in the city, around places we walk. I just think it's a really, it's a neat field to be in because you get to maybe, get people to think about something that is there every day, but that you maybe don't think about every day, but you do benefit from every day. So, we know that city trees make the air quality better for us in the city, and they really provide nice shade and keep things cool for us. We know how hot it can be in the summers here, especially. So just getting people to think about all those things and getting the part of our job is to get the city and all of the groups within the city to be planting more trees and planting them in the right spots where we know that trees will really make a difference for the community. Yeah.
Okay, so we do have one question in the chat from Dorothy. Her question is, what kind of education do you need to work in your field?
Do you want to go first, Maddie?
Sure. So really, you can have none to a lot, I would say, because to work in the field, perhaps yes, definitely getting your high school diploma, and then oftentimes a bachelor's degree in forestry or environmental studies. However, to be involved in the field, you really you have opportunities to do that in your community. So like we have, there's a volunteer program to be a citizen forester. And that's this really cool thing where you get to go around and you measure, you help to measure and take notes on all the different trees in the city. And that's something anyone can do, and you do it in teams, so it's really fun. So yeah, you can still get involved with very little education, specific education. But then I have friends who, after graduating high school, maybe got a job with an arborist company. So that's like a company that helps to trim trees and take care of them. So that is something people can do with a high school degree only. And so there's a range. Emily, do you wanna add to that?
Yeah, so I think that was like really well said. It can kind of be like, you don't have to have a certain degree just to be involved. I got my bachelor's in environmental conservation and sustainability, but like without, and so like with the specific job of like community forestry with the city, sometimes that might be more of a requirement, but there are people here like who are either in the landscaping field, where that's like kind of you design where trees are going to be, like not just for the city, but like you can like a landscape design if you're like putting trees outside of your house and stuff. You don't necessarily need to get that as long as you have the training to do that. And I agree in repeating what Maddie said with getting involved in community organizations where Citizen Forester is a great program with Smart Tree Specific. And then also there's a bunch of great programs and organizations across the island that do tree plantings, like restoration tree plantings. And so there's like a stewardship map that is online that maybe you guys could take a look at. And if you're in the like Ko'olapoko or Honolulu areas, it has some of those organizations that you might be able to get involved with. I can put that link in the chat too. I don't know if that's useful.
Yeah, I just got it, Emily. I'll put it in there.
Okay, perfect.
I think that's the right one. Yep.
Yes, that is. Yes.
And I'll say just on one more point with education. So I initially got my bachelor's degree in just general environmental studies. And then I actually worked for a few years after that, more in agriculture, like sustainable local agriculture. And then I made a change in my career direction. So I decided I wanted to get more into forest conservation because I realized how important trees are for our future and making sure that we have intact, healthy, large areas of forests. So I realized how important that was, and that's why I decided to go back and I got a master's degree in forest conservation. So it's really just, you know, it's totally, everybody has their own individual path of what that looks like. And doing the master's degree for me was a good opportunity to like work on a big project. So a lot of times like further education is a good chance to, I had an idea in my head for this big project, and doing the degree helped me to get the resources and the people to help me do that project. So that was kind of cool.
Can you just re-clarify what the link is for? Sophia's asking what was the link for?
Yes, so the link is if you want to find like an environmental organization that's in your area. It's for Ko'olaupoco and then kind of Honolulu area for right now. But yeah, so if there's like an environmental organization, maybe you could connect with to see if they do anything with trees that you might be interested in participating in now if they're doing stuff with COVID restrictions. But yeah, it's a resource for environmental groups, yeah.
So is it open for Girl Scouts to join, or do you have to have a specific age requirement?
I know for to look at the resource itself, you know, you can go online and it just has a list of the organizations, and the organizations might vary, usually by, you know, what projects they're working on and how the difficulty level. But I would say a lot of them are pretty like accommodating and ohana like oriented. So if you wanted to reach out to them, you could find something that you could work on. Yeah.
Okay. What are your main responsibilities in the job position you guys are in?
I can take this one first. So my main responsibilities right now is this program, the community forestry program with the city, is actually pretty new, right? So we're working on a lot of different stuff because of that and establishing the program. So we do some policy stuff, which is relating to laws around trees and regulations to make sure our trees are protected. And then we're also doing outreach. So Arbor Day, which is coming up, and I know a lot of Girl Scout troops are involved in that, and getting trees for that. We do outreach and education around trees and organizing this event so that we can get the trees out to the people. And then general outreach and education, just talking with different organizations on how we can plant more trees and create those partnerships to build up our urban forest.
Yeah, and then my responsibilities, honestly, it's a lot of the same thing. So in a lot of ways, my position has been a support position for Emily. So even though I'm in a different city office, we have had a very collaborative partnership. And so most of the goals that she just listed are also my goals and the goals of the office. So those are all things that I help her on, communications and outreach, some of the policy that was really neat. Emily and I got to write a tree ordinance. And so what that is basically, I don't know if you've seen like the cartoons of how a bill becomes a law, but there's a whole, there's a process for a bill basically with an idea then becoming a law. And Emily and I got to write one of those about tree protection. And so that's something where maybe in a few months we get to see it introduced to the local city council. And then if everybody agrees to vote yes on it, it'll go through and we'll have stronger protections for our trees, which would be really exciting. I've never written anything that's become a law before. It's at a city level, not a nationwide level, but that's cool. And then my other main responsibility, I would say, is making sure the city is on track for, we have 2 tree goals, which is to get 100,000 trees planted by the year 2025, so about a little less than 5 years from now, and then to increase basically the canopy cover over the city to a higher level of 35%. So I just work to kind of track those goals and how far along we are on them.
All right. What is a typical day or week like for you?
Do you want to go or I can go?
You can go because I'm going to actually talk about
okay.
the job I had last year.
Okay. Yeah. So usually it depends, I guess, on what project we're working on. So when we were doing that policy stuff that Maddie was just talking about, it was a lot of computer work and research about different trees in different cities and how they take care of their trees. So that was very like research, computer like based. But recently with Arbor Day coming up in the past like month and a half, it's been a lot of outreach to different partners and organizations and figuring out in meetings, talking to people about trees and where they're going to go and how we can like all work together for that. And then day to day, I just come into the office and do all of that stuff, whether it be, research or meetings or stuff like that. Yeah. But then I do get out in the field as well. So like I said, when we went to go look at the tree or the botanical gardens, the Honolulu Botanical Gardens are also a part of the Division of Urban Forestry of the city. So I get to go out there sometimes, they're really beautiful, and do some projects with those folks over there. And Maddie and I last week, we planted a tree in the same garden as her picture. So we get to go out and have some fun in the dirt too.
Yeah, so I think I want to talk a little bit, since I've only been in this job for about 5 months, I wanted to talk about a job I really enjoyed that I had last year. It was kind of more of an internship, so it was a shorter thing. But it was something where I got to work with people who own forest land, like own property with forest on it. And I would get to go out every day. So this was a job that was a little more focused on the field aspect of forestry. So I would go out every day and I would have multiple like site visits, and I would go and I would walk around the forest with the landowners, and we would talk about just what we were seeing, what I was noticing in terms of the health of the forest, and then listen to what the people kind of had in mind for, well, we were thinking of planting some trees here. Would this be a good spot for them? Or what kind of trees would be a good fit for this area? So it was very hands-on and direct with just everyday people. So that was really nice. And then there was still like I would say a little less than half of that job was then back in the office, then writing on the computer like emails, follow-up emails to those people. So providing, just kind of a written aspect of like whatever we had talked about when we were out in the woods. and providing them with any like resources and connections for whatever it is that they wanted to do. So that was a really neat job. It was also through something called the conservation districts, which every state has, and so they're a government. It's a government job as well. It just looks a little different than this one.
Another question came up is, do you travel between the states?
Ooh,
that would be fun.
not right now because of what's happening with COVID. But I think that normally there are opportunities to go to like conferences and stuff like that. So I know in the past, some of my coworkers and my supervisors have gone to different conferences about forestry and arborist conservations and stuff like that. So, and those are, I think, usually like 2 or 3 day trips. But I think they went to New Orleans one time, and so wherever they host it, it's in like different cities every time. And I think that yeah, mostly like for conferences and stuff, but yeah, Maddie.
Yeah, I can't say I've had a job yet where I've traveled between the states a lot. I am actually transitioning out of this position soon into it's kind of confusing, but yeah, I'm going back home to Michigan for a new position, and we'll be all virtual like this for a while, but we'll be actually working with people across the Northeast, so like New York and Vermont and New Hampshire, and as well as the Midwest, so Michigan, where I'm at, and the other states around there. So I won't be traveling between them at first, at least, because of the pandemic, but it is really neat to interact. I'm looking forward to interacting with people from the different states, because you always get a different perspective, and we actually have quite similar forests along that kind of whole area of the country, so it's good to learn from other people. Yeah.
What influenced you to get your job?
What influenced me? I would say I kind of always really liked being outdoors when I was younger too. I grew up in New England, actually, like Maddie was talking about. I grew up in Vermont, which I'm going is like a 11-hour plane ride, direct flight away from here. So just a little bit away. But yeah, so I always grew up outdoors, and I really appreciated, trees and like going with my cousins and playing outside. And so then when I was, I think going into high school, that's kind of when you like have more focus on maybe like take classes that you can choose which ones you want to take more of. And so science was kind of my thing. And so I was more drawn to that. And then my school had an environmental club that I joined, and there was a whole like section of that was about forestry. And then so I was like all in on the environmental club and that was really fun. And that kind of helped me choose when I was going into college what I wanted to focus on. And I chose environmental conservation. After changing my major from like economics stuff, I decided that was not my forte, just because I wanted to do more focus on sustainability. And then I came out here because of the position that Maddie had with AmeriCorps and that I used to have. So, and I was really looking for something to do with like community and the urban forest. So it kind of all just tied together. But yeah, I kind of always had an idea that I wanted to do something with the environment. And then through my experiences, just in high school and college, I was able to focus in on forestry.
I didn't know that, Emily, that you were in the high school club.
Yeah, it was called Envirothon.
Ours was called Green Club.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna put in the chat box here. I just want to share a resource that I had saved. It's 50 careers in trees, so it's a lot to choose from, and I kind of picked a top 5 myself. But my story is kind of like meanders as well. I would say I knew I wanted to get into the environment and into conservation after a hiking trip to the Grand Canyon in high school. So I mean, yeah, it was just stunning. It took my breath away, and was such a powerful thing to be really out in nature, you know, and to just see how everything worked, and just that feeling, you can't describe it. So that made me kind of just go down the path of, I know I want to work, you know, in something that's like either just in the outdoors or protecting it or educating people about it, but I didn't really know what. So that's kind of why I just got the general environmental studies degree. And then, like I kind of mentioned before, I got really into agriculture, local sustainable food. I love food. Who doesn't love eating? So that was a really fun time. I worked on a lot of different farms, and I also did some kind of organizing, like we do. Somebody else join. Around food, but yeah, then I kind of have like a always desiring to learn, right? So I decided to kind of switch over to trees, like I said, because to me, like, food and agriculture and then forests are, I mean, you can read all about how important these two things are for you know, for our changing climate and for just like bettering the existence of humans on this planet. On a very like large scale level, I just thought these are two of the most powerful things, food and trees, that you could possibly support and get into. So yeah, that has really compelled me to want to just stay in this field and make sure that there are, you know, people speaking for the trees, if you will. So yeah, hopefully you can explore that 50 careers in trees page if you're interested. They really they really are diverse, you know. There's a lot of them that are more business minded. Some of them are more, if you're like artistic into the design, or if you, yeah, there's just so many different kinds of things you can do and still be involved in this field. So
we have a question. What trees are the best to plant in the urban area?
Yes, that is a very good question. And so I think that it kind of depends on, you know, even in an urban area, there's different settings, right? So if your house has a yard, how big is it? And, you know, what do you want the tree for? Do you want it to shade your house, or do you want it for like fruit, like lemons or something like that? So there's a lot of variability. And then also our street trees, they have a different, like where they live and grow is different as well than like if it grew by your house, because the planting areas, I don't know if you've seen walking down the sidewalk, but they're not as big and friendly as they should be for the trees. So it depends on like an urban, like what urban area. I think that there's a lot of different variabilities. I think when you go outside and you walk down the street, you might see the same kinds of trees. So we have a lot of monkey pods, which I'm sure that you guys have probably seen. They're like the big ones that they drop like little monkey pods, and they're kind of sticky when you walk on them. But they have this really big canopy, and so if you drive down Kapiolani Boulevard, those are the big trees that are on the side of the road when you're driving. And then we also have a lot of rainbow shower trees as street trees, and those are the ones that have the pretty pink yellow flowers that grow in clusters. And so those are just a couple of the ones that we use as street trees. But like in the garden, sorry, Maddie, I keep referring to your picture. That's a tree that maybe we wouldn't plant as often as a street tree, but it grows well because it has all that space. So it depends, I think, on, you know, what the area looks like and everything, and how much attention and care you can give to it. Because some get more attention than others, just based on, you know, whether you yourself water it every day, or if it's, you know, only getting water from rainfall and stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so in regards to the 50 Careers link, the question is, are Girl Scouts able to volunteer in any of those 50 careers?
Well, I think so locally, that first link that we provided has some opportunities for like different kinds of organizations. These careers that are all listed, they're kind of like broader fields. So I'm not really, I mean, things like community educator, right, or community project manager, those are listed. That's what Emily does. So, you know, she might be able to kind of like, in a way, you're learning from her now, and some of the things that we've shared, like the Citizen Forester program, which we can also share a link to, that very much has to do with like, it's a community urban forestry project. So yes, you could definitely volunteer in that, and that's a local opportunity. You know, something like milling lumber or like getting into woodworking, maybe not as readily available of an opportunity. You might have to find the right, you know, like neighbor. I have neighbors at home, that kind of thing. But definitely, like, I do wonder if maybe like a nursery owner or manager. That's one of my personal dreams. Is I would one day love to be own a tree nursery. And so that might be the type of thing where your parents can help you like reach out to a local nursery. And for those of you who are old enough to maybe get part-time jobs, you know, maybe that's like a summer thing you could pursue, is work at a nursery. Emily, is there anything that you see in there that stands out?
Yeah, I'm looking at the list right now. I think that you put it pretty well. Like, it would just be legislator. That's whoa. But researcher, salesperson, social forester. Ooh, some of these I'm like, I think
you
that
can click on them and learn more too.
Yeah, I think that you said it pretty well. Like, here, I think that, you know, everything is kind of connected, like Mauka to Makai. So a lot of the organizations that we put that are in the first link, the StuMap one, they do stuff having to do with trees, whether it's planting trees or taking care of trees, or doing something like in a forest. There's like so much to do. So I think that you could find one of those ones. It would just depend on what you wanted to and finding what fits best for you.
Okay, we have another question is, what tree is good to grow in a garden here in Hawaii?
Okay, yes. How big is the garden? And yeah, that kind of goes back to what I was saying before. And maybe like if you live, you know, leeward versus windward, like little differences like that also come into it. For Arbor Day, actually, there's a list of trees of like 20 different kinds of trees. Some of them are native, some of them are edible, and some of them are flowering trees. So, and we actually have a list of all of the different watering, sun requirements, soil requirements for those, which I'm not sure if we have shared with you guys yet, but I will make a note to do that, because I know that, I don't know if the girls who are on right now are going to be getting any of the trees. Yes, perfect. Thank you, Maddie. But hopefully you guys are, so you can plant one in your garden. But you can kind of look at what the options are and then see what works for your garden, because one of the mottos of urban forestry throughout the islands is finding the right tree for the right place. Because everyone's like garden is a little bit different, everyone's like yard is a little bit different, and so it's really based on what your situation is. And so we have some resources that can help walk you through that we can share with you that I can send to you, Cheryl. Yeah. Okay.
Send it.
Awesome.
Okay, so another question is, what is your favorite tree, if you have one?
Yeah.
I'll go. My favorite tree, well, okay, it's a tree back in Michigan because, of course, my relationship with trees begins there. So you might not know it probably, but it's called witch hazel. And I mean, the name is cool, but it's a very pretty tree, has these light green leaves, and it, the reason it's so special, it kind of grows in the understory of the forest, so it doesn't get very tall, but it is one of the only trees in that area that flowers right before the winter time, actually. So it flowers in the fall, a bright yellow flower, right when like all the other leaves are falling off of the trees, and sometimes even when there's snow on the ground. So I just think that's so cool. I love that it's like this bright pop of color at this otherwise kind of dark time. Yeah, witch hazel.
Yeah, and then I think one of my favorite trees here, I really like the hollow tree. So that's it's kind of funky looking because, you know, it doesn't have a normal tree structure where it's kind of like a ball at the top and the trunk. It kind of goes like this with it. I don't know if you, sorry, like with its leaves. And I think I really like the tree because it's indigenous, and then also it's so useful, right? So you can take the like lauhala, and then it's used for weaving, and you can make bracelets and mats and like papale hats, you know, all these different things. So I think it's a really useful tree. And then even the fruit can be used to make lei. So I think that hollow is really cool.
There's a link if you want to look at the hollow tree, and then I'll send one for mine too.
Oh, you're so on it, Maddie.
So one question is regarding the Arbor Day link. Could you explain what Arbor Day is?
Oh, yes, of course. So Arbor Day started out in Hawaii in 1905. I was just doing a little like presentation on this, so that's why I know all this information. But it started in 1905, and it started with schools doing plantings on their school grounds. But since then, it's evolved into a tree giveaway. So every year, during the first Friday of November is Arbor Day, and then the following Saturday is usually when we're doing the Arbor Day tree giveaway. So on Oahu, last year we gave around, I think, over 1,000 trees. We gave over 1,000 trees away to different areas of Oahu, and then there's also one on Kauai and Maui. So it's just like an opportunity for people who love trees to get a free tree and to learn more about trees and find one that could fit for your yard. Yeah, so that's what part of us talking to you is that there's a partnership right now that we're working with Girl Scouts and Arbor Day to give trees to some of the troops. Are they doing it this year? Yes, they are, Amberly. So it's a little bit different this year because of everything that's been going on. So what we're doing is that troops have signed up for a certain amount of trees. And I'm not sure, you might have to ask your troop leader about this, but certain troops signed up for trees, and then they're gonna come pick up the trees and then give it to their troops. Or if you're not sure if you guys got trees or if you weren't signed up, there are other locations where you can do drive-throughs or like a walkthrough to get a tree. And so I can send the link for that, Arbor Day Hawaii. Oh, sorry, that was not hyperlinked, but that's the link. So that has a list of all the descriptions of the different locations. But I would ask your troop leader if they reserve some trees for you, because if they did, you might be able to get a tree just from your troop leader. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. So girls, if you just double check with your troop leader if they reserved pickup time, because we didn't want all Girl Scouts coming to the pickup since we're kind of trying to space it out this year. So double check with your troop leader if she or he reserved trees that they're going to pick up to distribute to you girls. But if you did miss it, then you can go to the link Emily sent out and look at what other locations that you can arrange to do. It's all drive-by pickup this year, right? For them to pick up?
Yeah. 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 So, because it's trying to be all distance and everything. So, and those locations, North Shore, Windward, Leeward, Central, Honolulu. So no matter where, Pearl City. Yeah. So all over.
All right. So we're getting close to the end of our hour. I don't want to keep you girls running late. So if you have any last questions you want to ask, you can go ahead and type it in the chat. And then a final question I have here for both Emily and Maddie is, what advice would you give someone who's considering this type of field?
I would say to keep an open mind and to make sure that you explore, because yeah, like we shared, you know, this list alone has these 50 different things that you could do. And so really just don't be in a rush to decide, but do expose yourself, you know, do like get out there and volunteer, ask questions like you're doing now to us, and just try different things. And, you know, in terms of your education, like by the time that you're all our age, to be frank, there's going to be different kinds of jobs that even exist as well. And that's kind of some of the best advice that my parents gave to me when I was younger too. And that's helped me to be flexible and to adapt. And yeah, you can always learn and apply yourself to new things. So like I said, down the road, I see myself becoming and owning like a tree nursery, you know, but that's not at all what I do right now. So yeah, just keep an open mind and explore and ask questions.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Maddie. Just because, like, you know, we're in this position now, or we were in a position, doesn't mean that it's like set, which I think is a really cool like way to think about it. Even if you are in one section of the field, doesn't mean you have to be for your whole life. And then some advice that I would have is not to be afraid to ask, whether it's your teachers or your kumu or your aunties or parents. If you know that they have something to do with, you know, like forestry or like wildlife or whatever you want to be involved in, don't be afraid to ask, because I'm sure that they'll be more than willing to get you connected with the right people. And then you can kind of do what Maddie was saying and try and see what you like about each different thing, because there's so much, there's so many opportunities out there and you're like all those people that you know, it's like connections and networking, so they can help you find what you like the best, and they're so full of information. Yeah.
Okay, I don't see any other questions, so I'll just give it one last minute. If any of you Girl Scouts want to unmute and ask a question or type it in, we'll give you last call.
Has anybody planted a tree recently, or plan on planting a tree soon?
Hopefully they'll be they'll be getting one.
Oh good, Dorothy says we are planning to. Great, awesome.
Yay, I'm excited too.
All right. Well, thank you, ladies, for joining us and answering questions. And thank you, Girl Scouts, for joining us this afternoon, too. We did record this, so we can post this onto our Girl Scouts of Hawaii YouTube page. So if you joined us late or just want a refresher, you can go ahead and watch this video again. But thank you, guys. Anything else, Emily and Maddie?
I don't think so. Go hug a tree, go water a tree.
Yeah, thank you, Sherelle, and thank you all the girls who tuned in today.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Aloha. See you.
Thanks.
Bye.